Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to the Now and Then Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Ben Jordan, along with Michael V, and a finely shirted, and I say finally Finally, but also finally Finely shirted Nick Cutler with that ravishing Rick Rude shirt you got rocking.
Oh, yeah.
Getting ready, got yourself a little, like, what's that, a Bush Michelada or some shit?
That is the Bush Light Apple.
Oh, the infamous Bush Light apple that he's been bragging
Yes.
about. So there you go. So welcome everyone to the Now and Then Wrestling Podcast. We've got a lot to get to. We're going to get into a little bit of the some now stuff we're going to get into, including Jeff Hardy. And then the big retro pay-per-view review for this week is Starrcade 1992 Battle Bowl. And there's a lot going on here. And then in our main event, the match watch along, we're going to watch a tag match from... This is from which territory, Michael?
USWA Texas, 1990.
Gotcha. USWA Texas. A tag match including a tag team of Steve Austin and Percy Pringle, which will be fantastic.
Holy shit.
Yes. So we're going to get into some old school, some guys that you know under much different gimmicks. But yes. So I guess starting with the big news of the week, of course, is Jeff Hardy at a house show. He's a part of a 6-man tag main event where he's teaming with Drew McIntyre and who the fuck else? Who else is on that team?
Big E, I think.
Big E, I think. Okay. And he hot tags out, and then the video shows he just literally bails into the crowd, apparently leaves the building, and a day later, WWE is releasing him. The reports are, and again, wrestling reports take them for what they're worth. They're sometimes right, they're oftentimes wrong. But the reports say that he did turn down rehab, and this certainly smells like a drug relapse for a guy that is a known drug addict. But first, Michael, I'll start with you. Thoughts on this whole thing? Like, what even to make of all this?
Maybe it's time to go home and just not.
I think so, right?
It's just if it's a relapse, that's very unfortunate. And he's been on the road long enough, and these things keep happening. So that might be a good reason to just stay home. It's sad. I mean, it's really sad. Especially for the guys that come through. I feel like it doesn't take this long most of the time, unless it's like guys way later, like Jake or something like that. But I really hope. But I mean, the thing is too is that we all look at guys like Jake and Scott Hall, and we're all kind of surprised they're still alive. So I mean, it's just not really something I want to see him keep pushing. Like Jeff Hardy's, it's not one of my favorites or anything, but I don't hate the guy, and it just seems like, honestly, and a lot of his problems were brought on by doing things to please the fans, and I mean, there's no question he put his body through a lot, and I just try to go home, man. Try to live a normal life. It's time to go home.
It is really. He doesn't have anything else to prove. There's not a run that we necessarily need to see out of Jeff Hardy anymore. I tend to agree with you there. Nick, you're from a kind of a different generation, right? Like Jeff Hardy is right from that the generation that you are most interested in, and he's had a huge part of, I'm sure, of your wrestling fandom. What do you make of this whole story from your perspective?
Well, the same as you guys had said initially is that first and foremost, it's sad. I don't think anybody's buying his wife coming on social media and saying that it's not a relapse.
Right.
Okay, well then what is it? Because he either A, relapsed, or B, he's an unprofessional douchebag for just tagging out and leaving in the middle of a main event.
Yeah.
And so and the thing about Jeff is he's not your typical run-of-the-mill worker. Like, he wasn't just taking bumps in the ring. He was jumping off the top of ladders, jumping off the top of freaking Titantrons, doing all this crazy shit. So as much as a normal professional wrestler hurts, he could probably multiply that by 15 or 20, and that's how his body feels at this point. Right. Like Mike said, it's time to go home. Like, think about everything that you've done in your career. Look at, so that run that he just had when him and Matt came back at WrestleMania, fresh off of Matt's big broken thing in Impact, where everything was what better way to go out than that?
Right.
Because you're not going to come back and get a bigger pop. And what drives me insane are all these freaking talking heads on Twitter. Oh, I hope Jeff pops up in AEW. And I'm like, I hope he pops up in rehab.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
why are you people sitting here
We don't
already
need him in
talking about
AEW at all.
going to
No.
AEW when he clearly has issues? Like, no.
I don't need
No.
to see the Young Bucks versus the Hardys. I don't. I don't need to see
We've
that.
already seen it.
Yeah, I don't need to see FTR versus the Hardys. I don't need it. I don't want it. I don't want Penta and Phoenix. No, I don't want any of it.
I'll say this: if he's gone for a while and he chooses to, come back and work a program or something like that somewhere for either company, that's fine. But take like probably some years, plural, and get your head on straight. And then, like I said, you're gonna come back for a 2-month thing. Hey, if he loves it and he's straight, that's fine. But right now,
Yeah.
I mean, like being, mostly regular performer. I mean that. We've seen that formula. It just does not work. It does not work for him.
I mentioned it in our chat, but I really think the smart move for him is take a couple years off and be a Royal Rumble entrant, because as soon as that music hits, he's got that recognizable music. It's the perfect opportunity for him. That's going to be the peak from here on out for Jeff Hardy, is the pop he gets at Royal Rumble when he enters.
I think you're way selling him short. He's again, and maybe Nick can speak. Nick, how old are you?
33.
Okay, so yeah, that's kind of perfect, because to us, it's different because we're a little bit older. But Jeff Hardy, and I know, like, because of my kids who would not watch this shit anymore for almost any, if I gave them $100 to sit down and watch Raw with
Same here, yeah.
Yeah, they'd probably hand it back after like 15 minutes. But but I mean, I know that, like, for my oldest son, who's now 23, like Jeff Hardy, I mean, he was a big fucking deal, man. And he drew a lot more than what people realize too.
That's why I'm saying the Royal Rumble spot's perfect.
They always bring those guys back for Mania, though.
Yeah. I remember reading it was a shoot interview, and it was like a you shoot kind of thing. And it was after Matt Hardy had gotten fired for posting all that shit on the internet after the news broke that Lita had cheated on him with Edge. And one of the things that he was responding to was, apparently someone had said something to Hunter like, hey, how do you feel about, Matt Hardy being let go? And Hunter's response was that he never drew any money. And Hardy's like, check our merchandise sales, bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could sit there and say that the Hardys didn't draw money, but when you look at merchandise sales, they probably were one of the top earners in the company.
I agree.
So to sit there and, like, I was never a big Jeff fan. I was always more appreciative of Matt, but them collectively as the Hardys were one of the top draws for as long as they were in the company. So Jeff has, I can't, if he was halfway responsible with his money, there's no way that he has to wrestle anymore.
I agree.
There's no way.
Doesn't make any sense for him to do it. So, also, I guess a little bit we can kind of touch on this. Ring of Honor had their quote unquote final pay-per-view last night. Some interesting things. Former Braun Strowman, now known as Titan, he shows up. Former Buddy Murphy, now is William Blake or whatever the fuck his name is. He shows up. They're in a stable with EC3 in Ring of Honor now. What I think is the interesting part of this is that Tony Khan in AEW, obviously, he mentioned, when Bandito tested positive for COVID, Bandito is their champion, and it was supposed to be in the main event against Jonathan Gresham. And 2 days before the show, he tests positive for COVID. Tony Khan, in a kind of a cool move, and this is kind of what Tony Khan is known for at this point, not really being big on, well, this is my guy, and I don't want him showing up on somebody else's show. There was a lot of AEW guys that with Ring of Honor ties that showed up, but also guys like FTR showing up, and basically it looks like we're going to get a little bit of Ring of Honor AEW crossover in the kind of the same way we got the Impact crossover, which for me, I think is so cool and so interesting and so different. And that's what I appreciate about AEW more than anything, is their willingness to work with outside companies, cross over these I know it's it's kind of cheesy, but the Forbidden Door thing, I mean, that is cool. That is something that I think wrestling fans that have been watching as long as like Michael and I have always. I mean, how many magazines, how many Pro Wrestling Illustrateds were there where it was matching up the WCW guys versus the WWF guys and the what if, what could be, and this is as close as we've ever gotten to it. I say all that to ask your guys this opinion. Do you see a day where WWE and AEW are doing any sort of crossover business? That is the ultimate forbidden door, is somebody outside of WWE doing business with WWE. I'll start with you, Nick, because I started with Michael on the last one. I'll start with you, Nick. Do you see that ever happening? Is that a possibility in your mind?
I won't say it's not, because Tony allows guys like Jericho and other people to do like interviews and stuff for the network.
Right.
So
that kind of opens the door a little bit.
Exactly. You've got your foot in the door for something like that. All it takes is for someone to plant a seed and say, hey, we did this. Why don't we do this? And then it can kind of blossom from there. I will say this. I don't think it'll be in Vince's lifetime. I think it's going to take Vince not being in control anymore and Hunter to kind of have the reins, or at least figuratively speaking, for Hunter to have the reins before that we see something like that happen, because I don't think that Vince would ever be okay with it. But I do think that Hunter has shown that he is more than willing to do things outside of the box when it comes to talent like that. Look at him showing up at Evolve shows back when that first started happening.
Shows, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, yeah.
So. Yeah, I agree. I think it's more likely that Triple H shows up on an AEW show than an AEW guy showing up on a WWE show. But Michael, what are your thoughts?
I pretty much agree almost everything with what Nick said. I think it would probably be post Vince, and I don't think it would be one. I think they'd be on each other's show, some kind of joint show together. Because listen, the reasons to not do it back in the day, those aren't reasons anymore. Like back in the day, it was wins, losses, protecting your guys, and all that shit. Nobody gives a shit right now like that. Like all on both fan bases and anybody even on the outside that isn't really watch, like you and I don't really watch either product. Ben, religiously, we watch fucking that. I mean, come on, there's no question. So,
hell yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
It's a benefit to everybody, because it's gonna get anybody who has even like a remote interest in wrestling would watch that, and it's gonna expose that product is going to be exposed to them. It's an advertisement for your product. Like there's way more reasons.
I've never watched an AEW show, and that would probably be the only way to get me to watch AEW, was if there was a crossover with WWE. So that would be their chance to win me over as a fan.
Yeah, I agree.
Like that. So,
and the precedent has been set, right? Because WCW and New Japan had a whole pay-per-view, which is ironically the year before the one that we're about to watch.
Well, they had two.
But they had right. They
had one in '92 too, because they had Super Show 2. Yeah.
Right. So the precedent has been set for being able to do some sort of cross promotion and doing a best of 7 series, and ultimately, if you're AEW, who cares if WWE wins that best of 7 series? I wouldn't let that be the reason I don't go ahead with this, right? If you're in talks and the WWE's like, listen, we'll do this, but we're going to be the ones that are going over. I'm Tony Khan, totally cool with that.
Hey, I'll say this too, for the Ring of Honor CZW thing, when they did their thing and they did that War Games in 2005, where Bryan Danielson turns within the match, and there's ways to do it where your side can lose, and all you really do is create another storyline within your own company, because somebody turns or something like that. Like that's the I mean, it's, again, there's ways to do it. Like there's some small things that might that kind of concern you, but overall, I mean, yeah, you should go for it now.
And there's enough guys.
You got a comment. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah, I put it up on the screen. Yeah, I put it up on the screen. I was actually I think Courtney's right. Triple H is too into the business how to be a wrestler, and I don't think he'd be a wrestler, but I do think that Triple H showing up and just like cutting a promo or doing something with us, particularly with Cody, because Cody has put so many Easter eggs out there about Triple H, right? Like, and it would be cool and interesting to have Triple H show up and maybe, because they do a good job of having guys that are maybe a little bit older, just using them in a manager's role, right? Or in a
but here's
role.
the thing though too. Hunter has also shown that he can wrestle once a year and still put on a Triple H match. And you say that, like, especially doing something with Cody, I would be interested in seeing Hunter doing something with Punk at this point too, because of the way that Punk left WWE and it being public knowledge that Hunter does not like him. You got that realism added into the story.
Sure, and if they could do business, and both those guys are smart enough to know good business and being able to put that shit aside. I honestly, even that Triple H versus Kenny Omega would be intriguing in a weird, odd way. Like, I don't know what the fuck they would do together. I don't know if Triple H respects Kenny enough to like put over some of the kind of goofiness that is Kenny Omega in some points, which would be fascinating. And I think a crossover show
I would watch
would be
that.
So interesting.
What would happen?
Sure. Like I'm not a huge Young Bucks fan, but the Young Bucks versus the Usos is kind of there's a match you're never going to see otherwise, right?
Yeah, because they've been building that matchup for years on social, so it would have to be.
Yeah, well, you do. Yeah, well, at that point, you do Super Click versus New Day.
But I'd say this though too, just to the comment about Hunter. As somebody that was running NXT, I think he kind of was a wrestler's owner. Most of the things about Hunter were very positive. I mean, when guys leave, and there are exceptions like ACH. There's obvious there, but I mean, most of the other people, they don't bury him when they leave or anything. Like when they're upset, it's with the creative upstairs or people up there, the atmosphere up there. No one really has anything to say about Hunter in negative like that.
Yeah, and then that's a
good
way to transition. Yeah. Good. That's a good way to transition to the last story from now that I want to talk about, which is it appears that Johnny Gargano and Kyle O'Reilly, their contracts are up, and they are again from that mold, from that Triple H, hierarchy, when the hires that Triple H had to try to make NXT kind of the more indie style.
Super indie.
Yeah, and these two guys are kind of the last two from the Adam Coles and them that have kind of defected and left there and been released, frankly.
But Tommaso's still there.
Yes, yeah. That's maybe the last one, and he, I don't think, is very far behind asking for his release or waiting out until his contract is up, because if again the wrestling reports are accurate, he already kind of asked them, don't put me on the main roster, which is smart because that guy would never have a chance in his entire fucking life to get over on Raw or SmackDown.
And he should.
Has no chance.
And he should, because I'm going to say this, out of all of those indie hires that happened, Tommaso, to me, is the most believable one that could get over as a badass on the main roster.
Maybe. Just from looking I think he's too small, unfortunately. And I think, and especially going forward with what Vince looks at, I don't think Vince looks at Tommaso Ciampa and understands what's cool about him at all. And so I expect him to play out his contract. Gargano, I've never got Johnny Gargano. He's a fantastic technical wrestler. Technically speaking, you cannot nitpick his stuff and find many, if any, flaws in his work. I just don't. I look at him and he looks like a gamer nerd who knows a lot of wrestling moves, and I don't believe he could beat up anybody. I know, Nick, you definitely agree with me there.
Absolutely. Like I said in our group the other day, there is not one person, male or female, on the WWE roster who I do not think could beat the fuck out of him in a legitimate fight. And that's a very big thing for me as a pro wrestling fan, and what I believe pro wrestling is and what entertains me about pro wrestling is looking at someone and asking, I don't know, if I met him in a dark alley, what could he do? I think he would run. Like that's what I think that Johnny Gargano would do, is run. So, and I just, like Mike had said, he's got a very vocal group of people feeding into him, and I really believe that in his mind, he's a main event star. And if he were to get bumped to the main roster, I'm sorry, you're a very, very, very small minnow in a pond full of piranhas.
Right.
And I just would not. There's
The
when I
funny
stop
thing
and
to
I
me
think to
is,
myself, do I want to see Johnny Gargano against anybody on the main roster? And I
and the answer
don't.
is no. Yeah. The funny thing is like he's got some like huge fans. Like Shawn Michaels is a huge Johnny Gargano fan, and for us to sit here and say that Shawn Michaels doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, we would be fucking stupid to say that,
Yeah.
right? So obviously, if a guy like Shawn Michaels sees something in him, what are we missing that Shawn Michaels is seeing?
I don't see money in him, but he's really fucking good. I mean, he's really fucking good. I see why.
Speaking,
he's smooth as fuck. But yeah, I mean, I don't see.
He's got a great mind for putting together matches. He puts together great matches. You can't.
I don't think the not looking tough thing matters that much anymore because I don't think people are looking for that. But I just don't think that as a package he has, that kind of star type.
He doesn't have the it. He hasn't.
No, he doesn't. No. He doesn't. And the size, it might hurt a little bit. But I think if you're good enough, you can overcome that though too. He doesn't have that level of charisma, the promo ability, anything like that, to where it's like, this should be your top guy.
Well, and the thing about, like, you just brought up an interesting point too. The size thing, like if you work hard enough, you can overcome that. But I don't know that any of these guys nowadays are made of that mindset. Look at, Shawn Michaels, perfect example. Michaels is such a huge fan of him. How long did Shawn Michaels eat shit before he was, and he never took no for an answer, never gave up? And how long did Vince McMahon say, God damn it, Shawn Michaels, he's not a babyface, he's never going to be a world champion, blah, blah, blah. And then boom, Michaels has the boyhood dream moment at WrestleMania 12. How long did that take? I don't think anybody has that kind of mindset anymore. I think I'm not where I think I should be. I'm just going to get my contract and release and leave. I don't think he would stick around long enough to overcome that obstacle. So,
sure.
That's not a knock on Gargano in and of himself. That's a knock on society nowadays. Sure. Where people are just they want that instant gratification, and if they don't get it, they look elsewhere, which it's a great thing to know your worth, but at the same point in time, you also have to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. And I feel like nowadays, everybody's just like, okay, let's move on.
Yeah. And I think it's very obvious that both guys will end up in AEW. They're perfect fits for them. They fit right into the roster. There's with Kyle O'Reilly, who, again, I don't really get. I never did really get him and Adam Cole. I never understood why they were getting so popular and being so cool and even getting signed or promotions using them. However, again, because I'm out of touch, the story does write itself. Where if Kyle O'Reilly ends up in AEW, you have Bobby Fish already there. And you have Adam Cole there, and you have the Bucks there. And the story writes itself where you put Adam Cole in the middle of Undisputed Era and the Super Click, and he's got to choose a side, right? And whatever side he chooses, that creates a whole storyline where so there is shit you can do with both guys if you're AEW. So if I'm Tony Khan, I'm looking at it and I go, all right, I got two other really cool pieces to play with now.
I don't know if that's good or bad. Because it's good for their base, but as far as like growing their base, like I don't give a shit about any of that, man. I don't. I'm just saying, like it's all shit.
No.
And I'm not. The guys are good. Like I'm sure it would be good, but like as a hook of like it's the Super Click, and it's like. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, if you have to give a shit about those
Undisputed
Era to begin with.
I just think that like it's that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's bad because it could be good. It's definitely good for kind of what their fan base is, but as far as like bringing people in, because you and I have talked about this, just overall like bringing in new viewers, which is supposed to kind of be the goal with this fucking thing. They keep getting locked into these things that are at like. Indie
all those fans are already watching the show.
Yeah, PWG storylines, indie storylines, shit from New Japan, this, that, and it's like I just don't know if that's effective.
I did not even think of that until you said that, and I'm like, that's actually a really good fucking point. Like
It is.
everybody,
It is.
like by hiring Johnny Gargano and Kyle O'Reilly, are you bringing in any new fans? No, because all those guys as fans are already watching AEW.
Yep. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I didn't even
It's a
think
good.
of that. So
It is
so
a
at that
solid
point, you're literally spending more money and bringing in $0 new dollars.
Right, you're just doing it to please the fans that are already there.
And Ring of Honor, I really liked Ring of Honor when they started, and in the first few years, and then they got to a point where they were fucking unwatchable to me because everybody went out there and tried to have the fucking main event WrestleMania match from match 1 until the end of the fucking night. And it was 4 hours long, and it was fucking every match was 20, 25 minutes. Fucking high spot, near fall. And the last like hour of those shows, they would drag so fucking much because everybody had seen fucking everything by that point. And that's how AEW is getting. And if they're gonna keep fucking adding people like that, like that's what all their shows are gonna be. Top to bottom, like just nothing but fucking, boom, boom, boom.
And it's a lot like PWG used to be, right?
Yes.
I was doing security at a couple of Ring of Honor shows one time, and I remember one of them I was actually ringside and watching the show from right inside the gate and just thinking to myself, Jesus fucking Christ, I'm ready for this show to be over. And I met the night before, because when I was actually doing security inside the barricade was in Chicago at the Frontier Fieldhouse. And I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, I had to actually sit and watch the whole fucking show, and I felt like the night went on forever. The night before then, they were in Milwaukee, and I think the main it was when it was Joe's in-between phase when he got released from Impact, but before he went to NXT where he was doing some Ring of Honor dates.
Okay.
And I don't remember what the main was, but right before the main, Michael Elgin was working with Josh Alexander. And Joe is standing behind the curtain cussing them and motherfucking them because he's like, Jesus fucking Christ, how much shit are you guys gonna do? Fuck, I'm the main event. I'm the goddamn main event. And these guys are doing falsy after falsy after falsy after falsy, and I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It is a different style, and Ring of Honor, you're right, kind of bred that style, and PWG then kind of carried on that style, and the way that AEW is booked and presented, I've said it before, I'll say it again. If everything about it feels like a PWG show on television, and the booking of it says that even more. Like if PWG was able to do the Super Click versus Undisputed Era, they would do that storyline, right? Like it's a storyline right out of PWG, and so it'll be interesting to see what happens. And it's an eye-opening point that you point out, Mike, that you're not bringing anybody new with
well, and
you know who I just thought of that we forgot about?
Do you guys see the Kevin Owens thing? His tweet. He tweeted the coordinates to Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, that was right after Adam Cole showed up there. Yeah.
The fucking it's a PWG just straight reference, and it's you are on Twitter. How many followers does Kevin Owens have on Twitter?
Lot.
Yeah, and it's like you're so inside baseball that like how many people do you think even know what the fuck you're talking about? And most of them just did because they heard about it and found out like what somebody had to be
videos and shit.
Yeah, or it had to be explained in an article that like what the point of it was or the significance. And it's like, geez, guys, like you're in your own bubble.
They book for each other, right? They book for the boys, and that's what it is. And then there's a part of the fans. There are wrestling fans that like wrestling made for the boys. They feel like, well, I'm one of the boys too if I like this. Right. So there's that aspect of it too. So I'll
tell you a real quick brief story.
Put a button on this.
Yeah, absolutely. But this reminded me of that. But I got into an argument with an indie wrestler once because he told me, and I like really almost lost my shit on him. But he said, I care more about what the boys think than the fans think. And I was like, listen, man. I understand what you're saying about like a peer's validity, but unless you know fucking 500 indie wrestlers that are going to go out there and buy tickets from me, I don't give a fuck. Like you really need, like that's the fucking point. It's like, if you want to disregard their opinion as far as what they know, that is completely fine. But we are in this thing to make some fucking money. And those are the people that are buying the tickets, that are going to buy subscriptions to streaming services and all that other shit. Not the fucking
that are going to buy your
back.
fucking merchandise. The boys aren't buying your fucking $20 t-shirts. The boys are saying, let me get a shirt.
Yeah, hook it up, man. Hook it up.
Exactly.
The Pro Wrestling Tees guys are hooking it up. All right, moving on. That was the now. Let's move into the then, because we've got a big pay-per-view to talk about. Of course, I'm talking about Starrcade 1992. Now, of course, Starrcade is the WrestleMania of WCW. Like he said, that's what they want you to believe. They want you to believe this is the granddaddy of them all. And Jesse Ventura is on commentary at the beginning of the show telling you how this is the biggest wrestling event in the history of wrestling events, when he was actually present for WrestleMania 3. And we know that. We were there. And we all saw it. We know that was definitely not the biggest fucking event in history or whatever. However, I got to say this. I fucking love Battle Bowl. I love the idea of it. I love what happens on it. I love the matches that come out of it. I love everything about it. So I will pass it along to you guys. What are your thoughts on the Battle Bowl concept itself?
I think it's a lot of fun.
I hate it. I fucking
hate it.
Oh yeah, I do.
Really?
I can't believe you guys like it so much. Yeah, I hate it. This was okay, but like the problem is with it is that, and I don't want to go too far into the matches, but in our group thread, like I know you guys really liked one of the matches, and I like the stuff they did in the match, but it's like guys just doing shit. Because the crowd,
I know where you're going to go with this, and we'll get it. I know
there's
exactly
no flow. There's no flow to almost any of it because the crowd doesn't know how to react most of the time. Like in this event, what do they react to least in this event for the most part? The fucking Battle Bowl matches.
Because it's confusing.
Yeah, it goes back. That's what I'm saying.
It goes back to that wild card match that they had at Survivor Series 95, where they stuck heels and baby faces together to make it seem like it was like a random drawing thing.
Right.
And then in your mind, you're like, oh man, like what's going to happen? Razor Ramon is with like all of Jim Cornette's people, and the British Bulldog is with 3 baby faces. Like, what's going on? And in your mind, it's exciting as a fan. And then the match happens and you're like, I don't know what to do, but I'm in the but I'm even in the minority for that match too. Like I liked that match. So
so here's my question. Do we believe that this was a legitimate shoot drawn out of the hat right before the match?
No.
Or was this a work and the guys knew and they were able to put together matches?
No, they're all works.
I think it was work.
No, they're all works. Dusty booked the first 3. They're all works.
Dusty's
talked about it. It's his idea.
But I do think they made it a point to put together matches that were just very random. Like they wanted it to be a work, but they wanted it to be like a worked shoot kind of thing. Like, hey, like.
Because I'll tell you what, there's a match, and I think it's the match that you're referring to, and we'll get into it. It's the second match on the show. Then those guys certainly worked the open of that match, like they didn't know they were going to be working each other, and we'll just get it. We'll leave it at that. So we opened the pay-per-view with a match that had already been drawn out of a hat at Clash of the Champions earlier. We knew who the participants of this first match were going to be.
Wait. Before we start.
Yes. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Even before we start that, I just want to say, because there's no way to really sneak this into like matches, but this show was a fucking embarrassment as far as what it looked like. It was abysmally dark. It looked like a WWF house show. And it is a fucking pay-per-view, and it's supposed to be your biggest pay-per-view. This is Bill Watts' last pay-per-view, and he really stripped down production. Their shows looked like shit in this time, and this was like the worst of the worst. For a fucking pay-per-view, it looked so fucking bad. It was depressing.
Bill Watts, for all the success that he had with Mid-South, his run in WCW,
Not correlate to
WCW
WCW.
it does not carry over at all. Like, he does not know how to book. He books to it was point.
Dusty booked. Watts is overseeing in Dusty's booking. But I will say this: I completely agree with you up until this point, because the first 5-6 months until December-ish or so, until like after this show, it is bad. But from kind of this show on, he really starts clicking, and it culminates because the Clash after this is really good. And that fucking Super Brawl pay-per-view after this, Super Brawl 3, is top to bottom one of their best shows ever. He brings in Benoit, which makes the shows better. He gives Benoit his first shot in the States. He turns Cactus Jack babyface. That's a big deal. Like, he starts actually, like, it seemed like maybe it took him a while to catch on. And then once he did, he starts making some better decisions. And like admitting
some of his early choices.
Yeah,
some of his early choices of who to push were bad.
I do recall watching. I have watched all of the 1993 WCW pay-per-views, and I do recall being very entertained by most of them. Yeah. Like, I was like, wow, I definitely prefer 93 WCW to 92 and 91. Like, it did get better. And that
I have a soft spot because the roster. You look at the roster from 91 and 92, and you go, how do you fuck this up? Because it's star after star, and you're like, oh my god, this guy's there, and this guy's there, and holy fuck, this guy too, and Ravishing Rick Rude, and what the fuck? But it just it never went right because the guys that they chose to push, the crowd didn't want. They didn't want those guys, and it worked out oddly. But before we get into the matches, I almost got ahead of myself here. The show opens with I believe it's Eric Bischoff in the ring, with Bill Watts and Hank Aaron in the ring together. And Hank Aaron is a big time executive. He's on the board of directors, I believe, for Turner. And obviously Bill Watts is the president of WCW. So they're both technically working for Turner. They're both executives for Turner. And they bring Hank Aaron out because they're in Atlanta, right? So that's the big thing, is that they're in Atlanta. So they got the biggest star in Atlanta sports history out there. And yay, everybody's happy. And they're getting along. Everybody's getting along. And then Michael, things go very badly for those two.
So this isn't even the first time they did this. He was at the Clash in September, Clash 20. Hank Aaron was there. Why was he there? And he was on screen with Bill Watts. Bill Watts shakes his hand. Why was he there? Because Bill Watts wanted him there. Bill Watts asked for Hank Aaron to be there. He wanted him there on both these shows. And in 2 months, Hank Aaron is the one that gets Bill Watts fired. So the ultimate irony is, it's just seeing them on screen is just surreal to me. It's so amusing. So and Watts is putting them over, and oh god,
yeah, they're shaking hands and slapping thighs. They're buddies. They're buddies. They've been drinking together.
If they had cigars, they would have lit them up right there, man.
Exactly. and those of you that may be watching and aren't familiar with Bill Watts and why he got fired from WCW, Michael V did us all the great favor and went scouring through the archive.
Yeah, let me set this up. We're gonna play this now.
Yes. Well, let's go ahead and just get right into it. Let's play it because this is the spot to play it. There's no.
Let me preface this. Yeah, before we get into the show, let me preface this by saying that this is from the Pro Wrestling Torch. It is from their VIP archives, and it's from summer 1991. So this is actually about a year before Watts gets the WCW job that he did this interview. But so
this interview eventually comes to light and gets to Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron does not like what he fucking hears.
That's Mark Madden. It didn't come to light. It had already come to light and been published. Mark Madden and Bill Watts had got into some shit very publicly. Watts called Hank Aaron and asked him what he thought about the comments that Watts made, a year and a half ago in a fucking wrestling sheet. Like Hank Aaron would know.
Mark Madden is such a slime ball, dude.
Yeah, this is just Mark Madden.
That's the same Mark Madden that ends up being a commentator on WCW television like 10 years later.
And Cheap Plug, who is hosting Ric Flair's podcast now with Ric Flair on the new Woo Nation podcast. Oh yeah,
Really? He doesn't do it. Wait, so Ric Flair doesn't do a podcast with Conrad?
That makes no sense.
It kind of does if you think about it. Conrad's got a brand.
Nope.
Conrad's got a brand he might not want to damage with Ric Flair right now.
Oh yeah.
Maybe
I suppose.
That could
all right. So
Mark Madden gives 0 fucks. But yeah, we're gonna play this. If you know,
I've never heard it. I'll be honest with you. I've never heard it firsthand.
I honestly don't know what you guys are talking about. So
well,
these are the comments. Up, Nick. These are the comments that got him fired. And plug for the Torch too. The Torch has a lot of great content. This is a 3-minute, just a short clip of an interview they did with Watts. I can't. You're the only one. I think you're the only one that can hear it, Ben.
Oh no. Okay. So how do?
And I saw your fucking face too, which means you definitely.
Oh man. How do?
Yeah. When I saw your face change, I'm like, something was said, and I didn't hear it. Damn it.
Hold on, because it doesn't even get 3 seconds in it. All right. Hold on.
Oh, it is shocking. It is very, very.
Better or worse? No.
Nothing.
Oh no!
I can hear like.
Do you have a link to it, Mike, that you can send me in our group chat?
It's just an MP3. I don't know how to download
an
MP3 that he sent.
Damn it!
Fuck. Let me try this. Let me try to share my screen and see if that allows the audio to play. Hold on.
Try something here.
No, I still hear it real low.
No, still can't hear it. God damn it! No.
Oh my god!
Why is this happening? Because this is too good.
I've been building this up, and now he hears it. Now, yes, it is. It is really good.
Oh no! How do
our poor listeners?
Why isn't it playing through? Why isn't the audio not playing through on this? This is fucking stupid. We're gonna have technical difficulties. This up live on the air with everybody. Fuck it. I'm gonna check a setting here real quick.
Yeah, I can say this: if anybody is willing to bear with us, it is 100% worth it. And Ben has not.
I found a forum thing that says the statement that sent the cowboy away. I'm seeing if I can find a transcript because I want to know what the hell.
No, hold on.
Wait, I think I fixed the problem. Hold on.
Well, I was sending you the file right now too, Nick.
Can you guys hear that?
No.
Damn it! Why isn't this working? Okay, the input and
I hear something. Some kind of hissing.
Why is this fucking with me now?
But it sounds loud.
Oh my god!
No, you gotta hear it, Nick. Stop reading.
Oh my god!
Hold on.
Okay. You know what? I've got to work.
Stop reading.
I've got to work around. Hold on.
Yeah, he's got to work around. Stop reading. You gotta.
It's like a train wreck. I can't.
Nick, the written word doesn't know justice. Trust me. When you hear it,
oh my god,
you've got to hear the passion in his voice.
Oh my lord. People think I'm a bad man.
Oh, here we go.
If you have a business and you put the money in a business, why shouldn't you be able to discriminate? It's your fucking business. Free enterprise is going to make it or break it. You should be able to discriminate. It's your investment. It shouldn't be that, by God, if you're going to open your doors in America, you can't discriminate. What the fuck? Why not? That's why I went business so I can discriminate. I want to be able to sell to who I want to. I want to be able to serve who I want to. It's my business. It's my investment. So they come in and say, no, you got it. You can't, I can't tell a fag to get the fuck out. I should have the right to not associate with a fag if I want to. I should have the right to not hire a fag if I want to. I mean, why should I have to hire a fucking fag? And if I don't like fags discriminate against us, don't they?
Oh my god.
Oh.
Keep it going. There's more.
It's not done.
It's not done. Keep going.
Roots that came up here. That Roots was so bullshit. I mean, fuck, all you had to do if you wanted slaves was go down and hand beads to the chiefs and they gave you the slaves. And that's the best thing that has ever happened to the black race, that they were built to this country.
Oh.
Here, you know why? Because they intermarried, got educated, and they're the ones running the black race. But you go down to the black countries, and they're not broke. And they're not. Idi Amin killed more fucking blacks than we ever killed. You see what I mean? That's how stupid we are. But we get caught up in all this bullshit rhetoric. And so, it's ridiculous what's happening to our country. I mean, holy mackerel. Lester Maddox was right. If I want to fucking go and sell fried chicken to blacks, I shouldn't have to. It's my restaurant. You know?
Oh.
At least I respect him for his stand.
Oh.
Make me and I'm black. Ernie Ladd is a guy that I love.
I got plenty of friends, black friends.
Ernie Ladd.
Oh. Oh my God.
Wait, here we go. Fuck the bilingual. Oh my God. That's
Yeah,
it,
he's like, oh
man.
shit, I said too much. I gotta fucking go. I am an executive for a fucking multi.
No. This is before he got hired. This is about a year before they brought him in.
Nevertheless,
Oh my
holy
God.
shit. I also want to remind everyone. Go ahead.
Hold on. There's one very big thing to unpack here that I did not want to speak over, but is very important. As he talks about the the four-letter F word,
Homosexuals,
discriminating.
yeah, the derogatory term for homosexuals.
And who is interviewing him?
I don't
Wade
know.
Wade Keller,
Who's
who is now
homosexual?
openly homosexual. Yes.
Interesting.
So-
Wow. Okay,
so-
that is an interesting level.
And Wade.
So how uncomfortable was Wade doing this interview?
Yes.
Wow.
The
Well,
funny
when
thing
he
is-
was agreeing with him on some of it, you heard him agree.
No.
with him on some of it.
Well, he agreed with him.
Was he agreeing, or was he just so
No.
uncomfortable he
Yeah.
didn't know what to
Yeah,
say?
Wade just
maybe,
kind of
yeah.
goes, yeah, because
Sure.
he's probably fucking frightened.
Dude, you can't say that. You couldn't say that in 1991, and you can't say that
No.
shit in 2021 for fucking sure.
No,
and it's just it's what it is it's all of the rhetoric that you hear from conservative racists from that generation, right? It's the stereotypical blacks kill more. We're still hearing that today. I mean, I don't want to get too political.
Well, there's
we're hearing a
also-
lot of the same fucking shit still today.
Some of the shit that was like subtle in there, besides the over the top stuff, which was like, the coming here and intermarrying, and it was like, oh my God, like
the best thing that ever happened to blacks was coming
Yes.
to this
Oh my
no matter
God.
how they got here. Like,
So yes,
all right, well, let's get back to the wrestling.
if you ever had a question about why he was fired, there it was.
There you go. Well,
What a terrible human being.
By the way, still a member of the WWE Hall of Fame. Like remember when Hogan got taken out of the WWE Hall of Fame when the whole Bubba the Love Smudge thing happened?
They didn't take out Bill Watts.
They never. I remember. I tweeted WWE at that time. Like, what about Bill Watts? Like,
Or them asking Hunter why China isn't in the Hall of Fame. And his response is, because if you type in China's name into Google, what's going to pop up? Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what pops up when I type in Hulk Hogan. It's clips of him banging somebody else's wife and dropping the N-word profusely on tape.
And the
But
funny
he's
thing
in the Hall
is,
of Fame.
it's not just the Hall of Fame. He books Nick's 95 Survivor Series match. He goes into WWF and books at 95 for about a month. So it's insane. It's insane.
The wrestling business doesn't give a shit how bad of a human being you are, as long as they think that you can possibly draw some money or make some money for them. Like this is how it certainly was back at this point. So
yes.
All right, let's move ahead of the wrestling before people are starting to think we're talking too much politics on a wrestling show. Dark match, by the way, on this show is Brad Armstrong defeating Shanghai Pierce in a singles match, 7 minutes and 30 seconds, which, by the way, is one of the longest matches on the entire show. We opened the show.
Brad Armstrong has the second best Russian leg sweep ever.
Brad Armstrong and Henry Godwin.
Besides Bret Hart, that's right.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it's Shanghai Pierce again.
That's Henry.
Henry Godwin.
Henry Godwin, yeah.
Yes. Our pay-per-view opens with a match that we already know the participants of because it was drawn at Clash of the Champions. That, of course, puts Van Hammer and Dangerous Dan Spivey taking on the team of a now babyface Johnny B. Bad. Last week we talked about Johnny B. Bad, and he was a heel being managed by Teddy Long. Here he is a babyface teaming with a heel Cactus Jack, and this match is exactly what you think it is between four guys who have no business being in the ring together.
Real quick, because I don't think we have a lot to say on this match, but Cactus actually turns babyface right after this show, and I will say this too. When we talked about Mick Foley being underrated a couple of weeks ago, the list of people to have a good match with Van Hammer is exactly one person long, and it's fucking Cactus Jack.
That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie.
Where did he have another good match at?
He worked with Bret Hart on a Thunder in '98. So.
And it was
Van Hammer? Oh, the second run of Van Hammer. Gotcha.
Yes.
I will say this one note on this. Van Hammer takes a really sick Hurricane Rana right on his fucking head.
Yeah.
Head planted.
It is really brutal. I would suggest you go out of your way just to watch it because it jars you out of your seat when you see it because it looks like it kills Van Hammer.
It's a Hurricane Rana pile driver.
It really is. It's brutal. Van Hammer takes that shit right on the top of his fucking head.
I was sitting on the exercise bike at the gym watching that and just out loud, holy shit.
Oh, God. Yeah, I watched it this morning and went, oh, shit. And I had to rewind it. I was like, this guy almost dies. The finish comes when Johnny B. Bad kind of turns on Cactus Jack, punches him, and he gets rolled up. Van Hammer, I will say this. Van Hammer is one of those gimmicks that it sticks with people. You remember Van Hammer, right? You remember that he's bad, but you remember Van Hammer in a weird way. Like
it's funny because I remember reading Bret Hart's book, and Bret is just very, very. His memory is great for his career, and when he wrote about his match with Van Hammer. You know, it's Bret being Bret. He's complaining about how he should be in the main event, but he says, instead, I'm working with this really green kid named Van Hammer.
Green, and I stopped and I'm like 10 years at that point.
I was like, he's been there for 10 years, Bret. He's not green. He just sucks.
Bret kept journals from the day he started to the day he finished. That's why his book is so
he said that at the beginning of his book.
That's why his book's so good.
Where he would literally record himself talking. So he knew exactly what his thoughts were as everything was happening.
That's real
quick.
And I feel like that's why Bret's book is one of the, not just because Bret is my favorite worker. Bret's book is my favorite wrestling book to read because it's so detailed.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say real quick too. Yeah, Van Hammer, a family owns. They have a family operated and owned porn store.
Porn store? No shit.
Yes.
For him.
Yes.
One last point. Dan Spivey's hair in this match is ridiculous.
Dan Spivey's hair is always ridiculous.
From the neck down, Dan Spivey looks awesome. He looks like a badass professional. From the neck up, Dan Spivey looks like a fucking weirdo. I'll say that. Moving along, that moves us ahead to what I thought was probably the second best of the Lethal Lottery matches, pitting Big Van Vader and Dustin Rhodes against the team of Kensuke Sasaki and the Barbarian. Now, I'm going to open this by saying this. I thought that the drawing was a shoot based on the first few minutes of this match. And in the fact that it's not a shoot, makes the first few minutes of this match where Vader and Barbarian start all that much more awkward because it looked like two guys who didn't know they were going to be working and just weren't clicking. Their tie-ups were sloppy, everything about it, but they were also stiffing the shit out of each other and slamming each other, and like they were doing like all the big man shit. They were doing the stuff that I thought you would do if you didn't know you were going to work with a guy and you were just going to do like the typical stuff. So if it was a work and they already knew they were going to work each other and it was that awkward at the beginning, that makes that whole thing just that much weirder to me.
I really feel like it was just Vader and Barb trying to see who was going to punk the other one first.
Yeah, they're both heels, so that's kind of a weird dynamic. And this also, because they're both heels and Barbarian wasn't there that long, this has got to be the first time they work together too, in any capacity, like in the ring. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, I would think that would probably be more because of that.
The match itself is fucking fun because all four of them are laying in everything on each other. Like there's no like, it's very Japanese in that there's the strikes are fucking laid in throughout this match. It's a fun match. They only give it 6 minutes and 56 seconds, so you can only get so much in that amount of time. That takes us to our next match, which is the team of the Great Muta and a heel Barry Windham taking on the team of Brian Pillman and 2 Cold Scorpio. Now, of course, on paper, you might say, well, there is a story of this match. The story of this match is that Barry Windham and Brian Pillman are tag team partners, and that later in the night, they're actually going to vie for the tag team championships as a team together. And I really liked the story that they told between the two of them. I thought it was fucking awesome. There's this moment where they tag in against each other, and they're wrestling, and they're chopping the fuck out of each other for like 30 seconds, just back and forth. And Wyndham stops and goes, whoa, hey, hold on, what are we doing this for? And Jesse picks up on it on commentary and puts it over on commentary, like, wait a minute, why are we beating each other? And they just go back to like regular old wrestling at that point. I really like the story that they told between Wyndham and Pillman. But otherwise, the match is fantastic. It's 4 of like the best wrestlers to ever lace up boots.
Yeah, they did a really good job telling the story in the ring, and Jesse did a really good job getting the story over on commentary.
Yeah.
So,
the last Lethal Lottery match of the show is Sting teaming with Dr. Death Steve Williams to take on the team of Jushin Thunder Liger and Eric Watts.
My goodness.
Eric Watts is still to this day a punchline. And this match is why he is such a fucking punchline, because it was so clearly obvious he had no business being in the ring with any of the other 3 guys that were in this match, right? But on top of that, it was obvious Bill Watts put him in the ring with Steve Williams because he knew Steve Williams was going to do his best to try to take care of Eric Watts and make him look as good as Eric Watts could possibly look. But Eric Watts is so goddamn bad. He's so bad. His body sucks. His wrestling sucks. He has one of the worst drop kicks you've ever seen in your entire life at one point in this match.
I will defend Eric Watts and say he's the shits here, but years later, he actually became a pretty good worker. He's
Techno Team 2000, baby.
Well, and even beyond that, like when in some of the indie stuff that he's done, like he got to be pretty solid. But here, he's green as fuck. I mean, he just graduated college. He was playing quarterback at Louisville, I believe, 92. I mean, he graduated in May, and he's doing this shit now. He missed time to drop kick so bad that he like essentially kicked Dr. Death in the fucking stomach, and the crowd got silent for 3 seconds, and then you hear like one group of people who were like together, like 4 or 5, just go, boo! It was
I don't think there's a more clear example of blatant nepotism than Eric Watts.
Yes.
Because in any other example of nepotism, you could look at the situation and say, yes, he got the job because of who his parents are, but at least he doesn't suck. In this case, it's like, you damn sure got this job because of your father, because you damn sure suck.
Yeah, to Michael's point, it was just too soon. He had no business being in the ring with these guys at this point, right? Like, there was just no point to it. It wasn't he wasn't going to get over. It wasn't setting him up for success in
I was
any
going to
way,
say, it
shape,
doesn't do him any favors at all.
at all.
Because
It didn't.
exposes
It
him
derailed
how
his
bad it
entire fucking career. Is what it did. I mean,
It did.
he never had a chance after this match. Never.
Yeah, he was always seen as a joke because of this.
A goof.
Yeah.
Yep. Our next match is a very odd match for an American crowd to have had to sit through, which is for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Masahiro Chono, the big gold belt, of course, is what we're talking about. The big gold belt, he defends it against the Great Muta, who, of course, we saw 2 matches ago in a tag match. He comes out, his paint is already all fucked up and everything. He didn't even bother to get changed into a different gear. But this is a classic Japanese-style world title match between 2 really good Japanese wrestlers in front of a crowd that could hardly give a shit that 2 wrestlers were from Japan were having a match.
This is one of those prime examples of a match. Like, this is a prime example that says that a crowd can literally make or break your match, because you could wrestle in front of 1,000 people, and if they're quiet, the match is going to come off awkward as shit. And on the flip side, you can have a match in front of 10 people, and it can be a terrible, terrible match. But if those 10 people are vocal and enthusiastic and into your shit, it's going to look amazing and sound amazing. I was sitting there thinking, why does this match seem like it's dragging? And it's because the crowd just didn't get I didn't think the match sucked. I will say that.
It was really slow.
I thought it sucked.
Chono has the best fucking STF I've ever seen in my entire life.
As I told you, taught to him by Luthez. That's probably the reason why. But who was also the last man, the man in Luthez's last match was Masa Chono. So yeah, broke his hip. Poor Luthez.
Masa Chono is an interesting one because he was pushed very hard in Japan, and he doesn't seem to have the same respect that like a Kawada, Masawa, those type of guys. But he was on their level for a long time. I don't know that people in America appreciate Masahiro Chono.
There's a few things with Chono, and especially in this match. And the match did suck. Make no fucking mistake about it. I thought this match sucked. And here's the thing too, is that I've seen them. They just did a lot of rest holds, and that's not them. 92. If you go, they had a match in the NWA title tournament over the summer. Same 2 guys in Japan. Fucking phenomenal. Fire. This marks the streak for Muta, where for the rest of his WCW career, which goes into 2000, he does not have a good match. He does not have a good match in WCW from this point on.
You mentioned that.
It's done because he relies on shtick. Keiji Muto in New Japan is fucking awesome, and Muta before this is awesome, but he's like babyface and relying on shtick. And I don't know how much you guys have seen of WCW 2000. Ben said not much at all, but him and Vampiro and the ICP is the Dark Carnival.
On paper, should have been fucking awesome,
but not in the ring though.
No, not in the ring. No, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, Muta in the ring, he's not good here. And Chono, by this point, Austin already fucked his neck up with a pile driver, so Chono was kind of hurting here too. But it's just so slow; it never picks up. There's a lot of rest holds. It only gets worse when Muta wrestles Barry Windham, which should be fucking phenomenal on paper at Super Brawl the next month. That's the worst match of the show is Muta and Barry Windham.
That's disappointing.
It's so sad. It's so sad.
You want to believe? You're right. You want to believe, and you want to remember, and you want to romance Muta in WCW, Muta in America. Muta in America is much different than Muta in Japan. He doesn't care as much in America than he does.
Not from this point on. He always did before, and that's why he's over. If you see, they're chanting for him in Atlanta because long history in Atlanta. He won the TV title in Atlanta. I mean, 89, and even when he's in there in 90 and 91, he's still working hard. But here it's he knew he could get over with the Muta shtick, and that's pretty much what he does.
Yep. That moves us to the second heavyweight title match of the evening is WCW World Heavyweight Champion Ron Simmons defends against Steve Dr. Death Williams. Of course, this was supposed to be going into the pay-per-view, supposed to be Rick Rude versus Ron Simmons, which would have been a much better match, I think. Steve Williams, we didn't talk much about Steve Williams during the Lethal Lottery match, but we can kind of touch on it here. Steve Williams, I like Steve Williams in Japan. We talk about kind of agree with it. Steve Williams in America is not nearly as good and as entertaining. I want to love Dr. Death Steve Williams, and I want to believe in Dr. Death Steve Williams, but here and then obviously his WWE run gets cut short because he gets knocked the fuck out. But I don't know.
I love Steve Williams. I love Steve America. I love Steve Williams in Japan. I would love Steve Williams on fucking Mars, having a wrestling match. This match was not good, but Ron Simmons is just not a polished like world champion wrestler. And if you look at his singles matches throughout his entire career on pay-per-view, and you know what, even if you watch it, Ben, the best match he has is with him and Luger, Halloween Havoc 91. And it is. And part of the reason that that's his best, match is that he doesn't even really have a lot of good pay-per-view matches as a singles. Like, Doc's in a bad spot here. Plus, this is the second of 3 times that he's fucking working too. Like, that's not helping. It didn't work, and the finish is god awful. The
finish was awkward as fuck.
Ron Simmons is in that spot too, where it's a little early for Ron Simmons in his career to be in this spot. He's too green to be world champion and being able to carry pay-per-view world title matches. No.
He's been going for maybe I think he starts in 87. So this is a year. It's a little early, but I mean, honestly, and I like Ron Simmons. I think he's good. I think he's solid for sure. But Ron Simmons, he never got to a level to where he could carry your whole promotion as a singles.
Definitely not. And Ron Simmons, Ron Simmons' career plays out a little bit different. And we probably remember Ron Simmons a little bit differently if he doesn't have the success late that he has with APA.
Absolutely.
Right? If you don't have that end to Ron Simmons' career, he fizzles out like after the Nation of Domination, where he gets overshadowed by Rock and basically gets kind of pushed out.
Derped, yeah.
Storyline wise or not, it became the storyline because that was the reality of the situation, is that Ron Simmons was at the end of his career. The APA thing really gave him a longevity where we look back at Ron Simmons where he could still show up on television and just do damn, and people still love Ron Simmons.
Hey, he's still making merch money. I just bought a damn shirt a few months ago. Like, dude is making merch still, all because of that last run with the APA.
And the APA, they were never, the Hardys, Edge and Christian Dudleys, like, at that kind of top level of tag team in that era, like they were always underneath. But they're fucking over, man. The APA was fucking over. Like, everybody liked the APA. They liked the APA offices in the back and all the shit that they did. I mean, they were a fun tag team.
Yep, agreed. Agreed, totally agreed. Speaking of tag teams, we got the NWA and WCW tag team championships up for grabs as the champions, Shane Douglas and Ricky Steamboat, take on the team of Barry Windham and Brian Pillman. Barry Windham and Brian Pillman, of course, are the heels. Although they're both were baby, those are 2 guys that go babyface, heel, back and forth. They're like the Big Show. They're always switching back and forth. Shane Douglas and Ricky Steamboat is an interesting team. Obviously, Shane Douglas goes on to become something very different than what he is here. When he go ECW, but to have the opportunity to team with Ricky Steamboat, be in these matches. They have a fun feud with the Hollywood Blondes. Is it before or after this? It's after this, right?
Yes, right after this.
Wyndham puts them together. Wyndham puts the Blondes together after this match or after this show on Saturday night on TV because he's going to go for the NWA World Title. And he hooks up Barry Windham and then
Colonel Robert Parker gets involved, right? And Colonel Parker gets involved.
That's not till way later. That's not till later when they break him up. They're not.
They break him up. That's right.
Yeah, Parker manages Austin, but yeah, Barry Windham's the one that puts them together. There is a match if anybody wants to see it of Barry Windham and the Hollywood Blondes against Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, and Paul Roma that was on a TV syndicated TV.
Oh,
that's
fucking
holy
Paul
shit.
Roma's in it.
I think
It's out there
I
on
think-
YouTube.
I think we just heard Nick orgasm right
Yes.
now, right here live. The match is what it is between four really, really, really good professional wrestlers. And the match.
I
is
fucking love this match. You didn't love this match? Am I the only one that fucking loved this match?
I mean, it's really good. It's great.
The
I think
crowd
you're
was
the one-
going. The crowd was going crazy for this match by the end. It was so good.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to argue. It was a very fun tag team match. I can't argue that at all.
I really
Oh.
like Ricky Steamboat. I don't give a shit about anybody else really in the match.
Oh,
Barry
this
Windham
sucks.
was fucking
Oh,
great.
I want to come through my
Ryan Pillman was
fucking screen
great.
right now and strangle you.
I don't. I've never been into Shane Douglas. I've never been a Barry Windham fan, and honestly, I never got into Pillman until he started doing the loose cannon gimmick. But by then, his work was not what it was, obviously,
Yeah.
in '92.
Their work was so good here. Pillman takes that fucking that throat bump on the fucking guardrail that's always fucking good. It always looks good. Barry Windham is like 6'6" and fucking he's thick as fuck here in 92,
Yep.
93. He looks more like Blackjack than he ever did here. And he's taking big back body drops and shit. Like they're so
I love Barry
fucking
Windham, man.
good.
Barry Windham is
Yeah,
so
they're-
fucking underrated. I love
Everybody
him.
in this match was good. Even Shane Douglas, that fucking belly to get at the end for the finish was so perfectly timed. And Shane Douglas,
Shane was selling his ass off. I'll give him
He
that.
was.
It was like he saw Ricky Steamboat overselling, and he's
Yep.
like, "You hold my fucking
Hold my beer.
yeah, he did so
Yeah.
good. And Douglas
Yeah.
is one of those guys like ECW. He's good in the beginning as a franchise, and then he gets a little shticky, when he just kind of turns into,
Yeah.
like that.
Right.
That's Shane.
This
That's his promo. in a
worth
nutshell.
bringing up here because I haven't mentioned it before on this show, but I one of the highlights of my life, we got a chance, Vito and I got a chance to do a little bit of stuff with Shane Douglas, and in talking with Shane Douglas, we were like, we always felt like Triple H kind of like ripped off the franchise for it to really get himself over, and he was like, no one's ever said that, but yeah, I believe that too. I always thought that, but no one's ever said that. You guys, I'm so glad somebody else saw that. But yeah, I always thought that too. Like he must have been seeing my stuff and was like taking some of my stuff and taking some of my edge. And I was like, we were like, yeah, dude, because I'm like a huge Shane Douglas fan. Shane Douglas ECW is so good.
He told me a story at a show in Baltimore one time about why he left WWE when he had his last run there in like late 95. And he said he was sitting in the hotel, and this would have been right after the In Your House where Michaels forfeited the title to him because Michaels didn't want to do the job.
Mm-hmm.
And then he ended up having the match with Razor and dropping the title to Razor. And so he had gotten paid for that pay-per-view plus like a slew of house shows. He was expecting the checks for all these. And he was on the road. He said he was at a hotel, and he said his wife called him and she's like, sweetie, like your pay came in and it's only $400 and some change.
Jeez.
And he's like, babe, that's only one check. I'm expecting like 4 checks to be coming in. She's like, no, this is all 4 of them, and all 4 of them total up to $400 and some change.
Jeez.
And he said he immediately like called Vince, and he's like, what's going on? I was in a featured match on a pay-per-view and these house shows, and my pay is only $400 like total. And he said Vince just went, well, it'll get better.
No.
And like, no, Vince, I don't think you understand. Between 4 shows, I don't have the money to make my house payment. And he says, well, all I can say is if you stick with us, it'll get better.
Yeah,
And
they were
he's like, fuck that.
Well, their business was horrible.
You're in an intercontinental title match. So you're in a title match for the number 2 title on a pay-per-view, and 3 different house show payments, and you make $400.
Well, I think Michael, it speaks to your point. Like business at that point fucking blew.
Horrible. That pay-per-view, I know that in that general area, like when they had Brett and Bulldog, they had Diesel and Bulldog, and I think was that on the Diesel Bulldog show, Nick? That IC title
I
match?
think so, yeah.
Yeah. That was like their worst pay-per-view ever, like business-wise. Like they did the least amount of buys on that pay-per-view. They were doing real bad in that time, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah, interesting. By the way, I also want to point out we're on YouTube, live on YouTube, and we're getting like bots commenting.
I see that.
Have you seen that? There's a couple of bots.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell is wrong?
Welcome bots. Yes, so that leads us to which is like, I guess, considered the main, although it's not the last match. I guess the Battle Bowl is the main event, but Sting versus Big Van Vader for the King of Cable tournament final. The King of Cable tournament final is interesting. The King of Cable tournament is interesting because
I guess I consider the
Vader
the
defeats Tony Atlas in the first round of this tournament.
Yes. This is 1992 Bill Watts. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, Vader and Tony Atlas in the first round. Dustin Rhodes and the Barbarian. Rick Rude and Barry Windham. Ooh, I bet that was fucking good. And Sting and Brian Pillman. Then the semifinals were Vader and Dustin Rhodes and Rick Rude and Sting, with Sting and Vader each winning their side of the bracket to get to the finals here. Now, I saved this because we talked about Vader. There was a match with Vader early on the show, but I saved it now. I fucking love Vader. And this period of Vader might be the best Vader of them all. He is so athletic for a guy his size. And you look at him and you just believe that he is the baddest motherfucker in that ring, no matter who he's in the ring with. Like he looks like a guy that's just a bad motherfucker. And I love everything about him. And I love Harley Race with him. I love Harley Race as his manager. I think they didn't do really enough with him, but I love Harley Race as the manager. And I loved, like, going back to the tag match. At the end of the tag match, Vader kind of turns on Dustin Rhodes after they get their hands raised in victory. He clotheslines Dustin Rhodes. And one of my favorite things was Harley's in like a tuxedo, right? He's like full tuxed out. And Dustin Rhodes is down, and Harley does the classic Harley knee on the face in the tuxedo. And I was like, yes, Harley Race. But I love Harley Race in Vader. And I will button my thoughts up to say Sting and Vader have the best chemistry of anyone and Vader, I think, ever. I think their chemistry, Sting worked with Vader better than I think a lot of other guys outside of Japan, in America.
I'll do you one better. I think Vader worked better with Sting than anybody else worked with Sting. I would put the Vader-Sting matches above the Flair and Sting matches overall. And I love Ric Flair, but that's just the reality because – and the good thing about this feud, too, is that – because it's a trilogy – is that it really builds to, like, every match gets better and the level of violence increases in each match to where they're bleeding up in the strap match at the end, the show after this. But this was so good. Vader's so athletic. And, like, you know, you can say what you want about Vader being stiff and it's all accurate, but why it makes it okay to me is that he'll fucking take it as good as he can give it to, man. And these guys are just out there beating the shit out of each other. They're athletic. Even Sting, like, Sting's a big fucking guy to be doing all this, crazy athletic shit too. Vader's taking fucking superplexes off the top. I mean, it's so fucking good.
Their chemistry is off the charts.
Good. I had said that in our group. Like, Vader is very giving to the people who he enjoys working with. Yes. Like, he's reckless at times. Like, I cringed when he gave him those 2 hot shots because he, like, almost dumped Sting on his head instead of, like, dropping his neck across the top rope. And he did it twice in a row the very same way. And I'm like, Jesus fuck, like, what are you trying to do? But then, at the same time, he's bumping around like he's 200 pounds for Sting. I don't know if I agree that those guys' best matches are with each other. I would have to go back and watch more of their other stuff. Like, namely, with Sting, I need to go back and watch his matches with Ric Flair. because the only one that I can think of off the top of my head that I remember front and back is in like 95, and that was kind of past when both of those two were doing really great matches. With Vader, I feel like I would need to go back and watch his stuff with Shawn Michaels. Because despite their obvious clash, it's like impossible for me to imagine Shawn Michaels not having a better match with Vader than Sting.
I don't think he did, man. You should go watch that because I don't think he did. Sean Vader, it's like you said, that the clash is what they did not work well together. Like there was nothing. Okay, let's put it like this. There's really nothing in the WWF that Vader did that really compares to his WCW stuff at all.
Correct.
And I was just getting ready to say too, I also would need to go back and watch Vader and Flair. And that goes back to your
Vader
point,
and Hogan is good too.
Vader is stiff, but he wants to get hit back. Ric Flair wrote in his book that when he was working with Vader at Starrcade the following year, Vader was just beating the fucking dog shit out of him. And he said at one point, Leon had him in the corner, and he's just like, if you don't start fighting back, I'm going to beat the fuck out of you. And so Rick started throwing fucking haymakers at him, and as soon as he did, Leon started to lighten up. So like Vader wanted it back because
and that match Vader was phenomenal.
He wanted his matches to look fucking good.
Dude, his bear paws when we would bear paw people in the corner. It looks legitimately like a bear attacking a human being. Like, and I would go so far as to say this: the thought came to my mind, and tell me if I'm wrong. 300 plus wrestlers, 300 plus pounds is kind of my limit here.
Yeah.
Vader is the best 300-pound plus wrestler in the history of the business.
I think the only person who you will get an argument from are fans of Bam Bam Bigelow. But me personally, I do prefer Vader over Bam Bam.
Michael, your thoughts? You're usually the one that like, nope. Here's the guy, and you're usually like, totally spin me out on.
Well, Terry Bam Bam Gordy's probably 300 pounds at one point. God damn. And Terry Bam Bam Gordy is a bad motherfucker in that ring, man. I mean, I would say if you raise it to say 350, it takes some kind of questionables out. And then, I'd say that's definitely the case. Because
super heavyweights, like, let's talk super heavyweights. The big guys.
Yeah, because 300 could be a little dicey, you know. Really,
sure, you could be a jacked up 300-pound guy.
I was just saying, you got to remember, it was over 300 pounds at one point.
Yeah, so you're right, like 350, where the guy isn't muscular, he's fat, he's got a belly. That's what I'm talking about. The best wrestler with a belly ever.
And I've seen Bam Bam from Japan, Memphis, I mean all over the territory, world class, all that stuff. And Bam Bam's really good, but Vader is just a different level. And especially when he's in there with guys who are not afraid to, give it back. I mean, that 93 run is so good.
I'm not a big fan of The Undertaker, but I love Vader's matches with The Undertaker because those two would just get in there and throw haymakers at each other and not give a fuck.
The last match of the evening is the Battle Bowl Battle Royal, where all the winners of the Battle Bowl matches take part in a Battle Royal to determine who the Battle Bowl winner is. The participants are Big Van Vader participating in his third match of the night, coming directly off of losing to Sting in the match before. Sting, who just won the match before, is right back out for this fucking Battle Royal.
No face paint, nothing.
Yeah, Dustin Rhodes, Van Hammer, Dan Spivey, Steve Williams, and Barry Windham. Great Muta wins by last eliminating Barry Windham. The match goes 14 minutes, so it doesn't really waste our time. A Battle Royal as the main event is always going to be a letdown. You're never
unless
it's
the Royal Rumble.
Royal, right?
Unless it's the Royal.
That's different. It's not even it's not a Battle Royal. But this is a Battle Royal. Battle Royals are different.
I agree, especially bringing Vader and Sting back out right after they just had this incredible match that the crowd was
Why not just put the tag match on right before that to give Sting and Vader at least a chance to fuck?
They could have did something. I mean, building around the whole Battle Bowl idea wasn't a good idea for them anyway because money wise they did real bad with those shows. But I mean, I would just say that as far as Battle Royals, this one wasn't bad. And it wasn't a bad Battle Royal. Crowd was relatively.
I was interested the whole time.
Yeah.
And I didn't remember who won it, so I remember actually being in my mind. I'm like, okay, fucking Sting's gonna win this shit because Sting was the Hogan of fucking WCW back in those
Especially this
days. He
one, yeah.
always went over. So when him and Vader eliminated each other, I was like, oh fuck, I honestly don't know who wins. And then when it came down to Barry Windham and Muta, I'm like, god damn it, Barry Windham's gonna fucking win this thing. And so when Muta eliminated him, I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah. Which leads, obviously, like you said, the Barry Windham and Great Muta at the next pay-per-view. Obviously, Vader and Sting are at the next pay-per-view, so they did a lot to set up the next pay-per-view. Yeah.
Yeah, if anybody has not seen Super Brawl 3 in a long time, go watch that show. Rock and Roll Express and Heavenly Bodies are on that fucking show too, having a match. I mean, it is a really good fucking pay-per-view. It's a Ric Flair's return to WCW too from WWF is on that show.
Interesting. Yep. Well, maybe one of these days it'll come up on the fucking randomizer, and we'll end up watching it. All right, guys.
This week on the randomizer, we've got all of the pay-per-views from 2000.
This is so dangerous. This is
this includes
this has the opportunity to be really good or really horrible, depending on where that fucking needle stops. We'll get into that here in a second. We'll end the show with that. Nick, are you going out of town next weekend?
Yes, I was gonna say. Remember, I'm gonna be on my cruise ship this following week.
So we'll do. I think we're gonna do we'll have someone sit in for you, and we'll have them review the pay-per-view with us as well. So that'll be a nice little change of pace. But we'll still have you choose what 2000 pay-per-view we're gonna sell. All right. That moves us now to our main event of the evening, a tag team match. Michael, this is the one that you chose this match for us. Set this up for us and let us know why we're going to watch Chris Von Erich and Chris Adams take on the team of Percy Pringle and Steve Austin.
Yeah, this is fun. Anybody who hasn't seen it, there's a fair amount of it on YouTube, but the USW stuff in Texas from the Sportatorium. This is, after they've taken over from World Class. They have some really good stuff and some fun stuff there. Jeff Jarrett as a babyface is always fucking good. But I mean, a lot of the big stuff that people remember, one of the biggest stuff is Chris Adams and Steve Austin. Steve with Chris's ex-wife and Chris with his wife. And there's a mixed tag on there, definitely too. And you go back.
Look at Paul Bear.
We got Paul Bear here as Percy Pringle, who's, Paul Bear is the one that obviously the character that everybody remembers, and I understand why. But I love fucking Percy Pringle. He's just such a good Southern territorial heel. Yeah. He's so fucking entertaining. His promos are good. And look at Austin. Austin's been doing this for from training from the first day he trained right now in this match for 1 year. Look at how much he owns the fucking the camera and ring way interacts with the fans.
A real natural, a real total natural at this. Yeah.
You can see it. And this is very sad because Chris is the Von Erich that was too small that ended up killing himself. But adding to the tragedy, right? This is the brother that really wanted it, but was too small. And it's funny because at this point he's too small. But if you look at now, he probably he'd fit right in. That's
he's one of the bigger guys. Yeah. Nowadays, he's one of the bigger dudes.
He fucking AEW ENT champion. But yeah, no, I mean, Chris, this is pretty much what they did with him when they had him work. This is basically set up as he's in the woman's spot. Normally the woman would be on the other side of the manager in a tag. And he's he worked a lot of stuff with Percy Pringle because he just wasn't, he couldn't work with guys competitively.
Really, he's got great hair. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, he does have great hair. If you haven't seen it yet, there is a great documentary on Chris Adams. You can find it on YouTube, I believe, where they interview Chris Adams. They interview a lot of people close to Chris Adams. They kind of tell his life story, and it is an interesting life story. Chris Adams. He had a hand, obviously, training Steve Austin, and worked with Steve Austin in the early going, and they had a lot. While they're feuding on television, there's a lot of truth, and there's a lot of realism that's brought from their real life relationship into their wrestling storyline, and it's Chris Adams' story is sad and crazy all at the same time.
It's
Yeah,
funny because the first time I remember watching Chris Adams' work was when I started watching all of the 1998 WCW Nitros, Thunders, and pay-per-views.
The first Thunder.
And-
He's on the first match.
He's
of
the first match.
Thunder.
He
Yeah.
He's the
beats
first
Randy
match. Him and Macho Man
Savage.
Randy Savage are the first match on
He
Thunder.
beat Randy Savage, and I remember watching this, not knowing who he is, and I was like, "Fuck! I wish I was a jobber in 1998. This fucking job guy just got a fucking win over Randy Savage."
Yep.
And then I'm watching more, and I'm like, "Wait, I don't think this guy's a fucking jobber. I think he's under contract." And I was like, "Oh wow, he's really fucking good too." So to see him in this match, I'm like, "Oh shit, he'd been around a while."
Yeah, when you go back in the 80s, I mean, he has a lot of really good stuff in the 80s, Mid-South, world class. And for anybody who has not seen them, him and Gino Hernandez as the dynamic duo is fucking, I mean, they are awesome together. They are the perfect snobby, rich assholes.
Dude, Gino Hernandez is so underrated.
Yeah,
I say
Gino.
this every week. To you guys, but there's a dark side of the ring on Gino Hernandez, which is amazing.
I need to go through and do what you told me to do and watch all those episodes that are.
You guys really do, because we need to have an episode where we just talk about dark side of the rings, because there's so
and that fucking dirty piece of shit Grizzly Smith.
Yes.
Oh
that shit will scar you when you watch that one.
But if you want to look at something to watch of Gino that's really good, watch the Gino Hernandez and Chris Adams against Kevin and Kerry Von Erich hair match, and it is fucking it's so
amazing.
Good. It's so good. Yeah, Gino was awesome, and so was Chris. Chris Adams was so fucking good. He just never got a run because he was fucking nuts.
Yeah, and and him and Gino did an amazing amount of cocaine.
Yes,
Austin should have worn these tights in WWE.
Amazing.
He wore like a shorter version in WCW.
Yeah, but I want to see Austin in tights in WWE.
Same pattern, like biker shorts.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you say, Austin's only a year in, and you can already tell that he's got the little things. And obviously, it took a while for him to become Stone Cold Steve Austin, but you could see he had the tools even back here. You could tell he had the it that a lot of guys don't have.
But I mean, I would encourage people to go back and watch some of this stuff. God damn, that bump was so good too. Go watch some of the stuff from that era. Like, he's doing promos and he's not Stone Cold Steve Austin, but he's still like this funny, smart ass kind of jock heel. And it's like, I don't know why WCW, and so is Jeannie Clark. Jeannie Clark is so fucking good talking in this era. She's tremendous. And like WCW, when she's there with Austin for a few months, I don't think she spoke at all. It's so amazing how badly they use people there.
Yeah, they didn't really know what to do with Steve Austin in that first run in WCW.
No, he's like TV champion. Like, they know they should do something with him, but he's like this TV champion.
He literally had every title but the war title. He was TV champion. He was US champion. He was tag team champion. Like,
yeah. But he never gets to talk for himself, and he's so.
Yeah. And this is in Texas, correct? This is Houston?
Yes, Sportatorium. This is Sportatorium. World famous for him in Dallas.
Hell of a knee drop, Chris Adams. Hell of a knee drop.
And you see that? That's why I love Percy Pringle, and you can see right there, like, how he is, even with being Paul Bearer, but like, he's playing to the crowd even when he has nothing to do with the shit. Like, he's just constantly, he's constantly connecting with the crowd. Yeah. Oh my God, Chris.
And he's in that. He does.
Oh my God, just fucking throwing him around like a rag doll.
Look, they've identified him as the weak link in storyline. He fucking tagged in, did one thing, and tried to tag out in like the most cowardly babyface spot I've ever seen. What the fuck?
And Pringle's in that. Pringle's falling in that kind of Bobby Heenan wrestling manager, but can also kind of work a little bit kind of role too.
Way to dead weight him.
Yeah,
Fuck.
he would work exactly. He's so bad. No, yeah, he would work. I mean, you know, he would work a lot with in different territories and gimmick matches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he's just a hardcore, you know, wrestling fan, and you know the boys always considered him one of the boys, so you know he learned from them.
So funny.
Oh my!
He's like doing
God.
wrestling moves, but they're like not.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
He pulls him by the tights, like straight by the tights.
The fucking manager just manhandled him.
Right, because he's so small.
He's so
like,
small.
He's like Marco Stunt small.
He had a.
That's what he looks like. Is Marco Stunt?
He had a disease.
Yeah, the disease was being a Von Erich.
No.
I would say they've got. He had some. No,
I know. I'm making a joke about how
he took it. Yeah, he took it. He was on. I think
he took growth and didn't fight. That's what he looked like.
Yeah, I think his disease was that bad. He was taking all that shit because he did want to be a star, and all of his brothers were obviously. But yeah, they said that he tried to take things.
You can imagine how horrible on the psyche it must be to be the Von Erich brother who's too small to be a star. When you look around the dinner table, so to speak, and like all your brothers were these huge stars who traveled all over the globe, made tons of money, main evented, and he was never going to be that. Like he was never going to get the chance to be that. He's never that guy. And obviously it fucked with him to the point that he killed himself.
Look at Austin.
You could see how that would happen.
Well, yeah, and also probably fucks with you that all your brothers, when they're all fucked up on drugs, run the ropes better than you do sober. Jesus
Right, you just suck at it. Some people are just not meant to be. You know, like not every. You know, there's a lot of brothers that play sports, but then there's also like the Mannings, right? There's Eli. There's Peyton, and then they have Cooper, who is kind of athletic, but just not as good as the other two, right? So he's the other brother, and so in this sense. You know, David is the other brother.
Oh my God!
Oh wow, they gave the win to him.
They sure did.
And then Austin clubbed the fuck out.
We gotta rewind that. We gotta rewind that. And see that.
Oh my God!
Boom! Fuck you! Fuck you, kid. And the people are horribly dismayed.
Yeah, they had heat here. This was, I mean, like I'm saying, 1990 USWA Texas. Like there might be some people you might not know, like a Gary Young popping in there or something like that. But Gary Young's a lot of fun. But I mean, there's Chris Adams, Steve Austin, Jerry Lawler, Jeff Jarrett. I mean, there's a lot of names. Bill Dundee. There's JC Ice, Jamie Dundee. He starts here too. He starts in Texas in 1990. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff here.
Just manhandling him.
He does. Like everything he does, it looks like it's being done to a rag doll. Wait, give us some volume. Let's see how hot the crowd is. Oh, he's a big dive. I love Austin.
Oh, there we go.
Look at him running away. He's so good. Just right away. It's a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So we were talking in our chat a little bit. We're going to try to include some stuff from Hawaii, from the Polynesian promotions run by The Rock's mom. So
yeah, we got a lot of plans for classic footage. I mean, we talked about this too. We'll probably start showing some angles and then watching the matches, that come out of the angles. I know next week as a tease, we'll be watching one of the all-time great Memphis studio involving King Kong Bundy and Rick Rude, managed by Jimmy Hart, brawling with Jerry Lawler and Randy Savage. Is just tremendous shit. And then the week after that, we will be watching the match.
So you sent me this clip of Bam Bam Bigelow. Speaking of Bam Bam Bigelow earlier, do you want to set this up?
Yes. I didn't even send it for the show. I just told them they need to watch this. But Bam,
gotcha.
No. Let's play it. Bigelow in fucking Memphis is so fun. But go ahead. Oh, it's a volume thing again. We can't hear it.
This is of course Larry Sharp, very famous pro wrestling trainer, Larry Sharp, right? The Monster Factory.
Yes, it is.
Monster
Yes, it
Factory. Back before our good friend Danny Cage.
Damn. You guys can't hear it again. Fuck.
No.
Nope.
My bad.
And it's so good.
I don't know if the people can hear it and you just can't hear it. I don't know, but let's at least the visual of this, because I love that he's got him under a fucking sheet
with the fucking Jaws song playing.
Yeah.
God.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, 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 dun. And it just keeps building as Larry Sharp is cutting this fucking. As he goes over his measurement.
Is that necessary? That's a hell of a shot of the kneecap.
Bam Bam had those sexy knees. You got to think about the female demographic when you're, Bam Bam Bigelow's kneecaps.
This man is so mean, his mother hates him.
That's going to draw some rats. Bam Bam Bigelow's kneecaps. The big reveal. Yeah, he's so good in Memphis. We'll have to watch some of that too. Like stuff with him and Lawler is really fucking good, man.
Yeah, I would love to see early him with Jerry Lawler. I think that would be.
In all honesty, of all the Bam Bam, Japan, WCW, CW, WWF, all that shit, world class. Memphis Bam Bam might be my favorite band.
I don't know if you guys got. I don't know if the audio came through for the people watching along with us or not. But Larry Sharp cuts an awesome promo there too, because
he sure did. Yeah, the promo.
They're like he's gonna stomp you with his size 24-inch shoe or 24-inch calves. And he's giving all his statistics as they move up, and then he unveils his fucking that he's got this fucking head on him.
Monster looking freak. Yeah.
Yeah, he said something that his own mother even hates him. That's what shit.
Yeah, I mean, he was a real monster heel in the real sense of the word. It's really good stuff.
Indeed. So, all right. So this is our chance to find out what horrible 2000 pay-per-view or great 2000 pay-per-view
we're gonna
get to watch. We will have a special guest sitting in Nick's chair that will review it along with us. We'll inform you as soon as we know who will be taking that spot. But
while he's actually pulling it, let's say for sure it's going to be bad because he's fucking leaving and he won't have to watch it. So I know he's pulling this complete bullshit right now.
Hopefully we get some really rocking WWE 2000 pay-per-view. I want to see Rey Mysterio versus Kurt Angle or some shit. So
Rey's out there in 2000. Rey's in W.
Yeah, I know.
Rey's in WCW without a mask, not good. So, oh fuck.
His mic went out. 1 second, he says in the chat. We have had some technical difficulties. We got through without some technical difficulties for the first couple of weeks, but here we are with some technical difficulties. He logged out. He's going to try to log back in. WCW pay-per-views in 2000. I mean, that is the end, right? This is as close to the end as we can get, I think, right?
It's so bad.
I mean, at that point, that's.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
All right,
yeah,
okay. By the way, I am going to watch it, and I'm going to send you guys my thoughts in summary.
I love it. Send it to me, and I'll make sure I read it. I'll read it.
Absolutely,
I'll make sure everybody knows.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so on this list, we've got Royal Rumble, No Way Out, WrestleMania, Backlash, Judgment Day, King of the Ring, Insurrection, Rebellion, Fully Loaded, SummerSlam, Unforgiven, No Mercy, Survivor Series, and Armageddon. That is our WWE side.
That is
on
so,
the WCW side. We've got Sold Out, Super Brawl, Mayhem, Halloween Havoc, The Bash, Bash at the Beach, Starcade, Uncensored, Slamboree, Fall Brawl, New Blood, and Spring Stampede. Here
New Blood. That New Blood pay-per-view.
go.
New Blood Rising. It's New Blood Rising. It is the worst fucking
classically bad.
That is the worst WCW pay-per-view of all time.
Oh,
It is.
God damn it.
Shit. This is by your reaction, we're definitely watching WCW.
Guys, we are watching WCW Mayhem 2000.
All right, now that we know what we're watching, I got to bring up the card. So give me a second.
That's
I am
what I'm
happy
doing right now.
I am happy for one reason. Fuck the card. I'm almost sure that my man Stevie Ray will be doing commentary on that fucking show, and I cannot wait. I don't give a fuck.
It is. Here we go. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I'll break it down for you. This pay-per-view takes place in Milwaukee, Wisconsin at U.S. Cellular Arena.
Yes.
This is bad.
Attendance was 3,800 people.
This is the Scott Steiner era.
This commentary by Tony Schiavone, the aforementioned Mark Madden, and Stevie Ray.
Yes.
So buckle up there. Oh my God! Look at this fucking. Oh, this show. Okay, here we go. We have a WCW World Cruiserweight title match as Mike Sanders takes on Kwee-Wee. Three-way tag team match, Evan Courageous and Jamie Noble versus 3 Count, Shane Helms and Shannon Moore versus the Young Dragons, Kaz Hayashi and Yang. I bet that's fun in like a 3-way, stupid stuff sort of way.
They had fun. Those guys had fun matches at that time, and Alan Funk's Kwee-Wee. The Kwee-Wee character is kind of annoying, but Alan Funk's pretty good, man. I wouldn't be surprised if that was at least an okay match.
Mike Sanders also could cut a pretty decent promo and not terrible. Like his shelf life was very short, but he wasn't terrible. Yeah.
I'm not hating this so far.
So far, WCW Hardcore title match 3-way. Crowbar, your champion, taking on Reno and Big Vito in a hardcore title 3-way match. Yeah. Special attraction match. Jimmy Hart versus Mancow.
I remember that.
Yeah. 3-on-2
with
handicap
Al Roker.
Yes. 3-on-2 handicap match. Alex Wright, when he came back and was doing like the Berlin kind of gimmick, the evil Alex Wright gimmick, he's teaming with Chronic.
They're the Dancing Fools. Him and Disco Inferno at this time are the Dancing Fools.
Oh, are they? Because in this match, he's teaming with
Chronic. No, the Boogie Nights. Yeah, they're teaming with Chronic because they were paying Chronic to beat people up, but they didn't have to.
Got it. Okay. So Alex Wright and Chronic taking on the team of Billy Kidman and Rey Mysterio Jr. There we go, Rey Mysterio. I won't be able to see him in WWE because he's here fucking in that match, unfortunately. Singles match. The franchise, Shane Douglas versus the Cat. What's that guy's name? Ernest Miller.
Ernest Miller.
Wow.
Yeah. Singles match. Bam Bam Bigelow, who we just saw that promo of, taking on Sergeant AWOL. I don't even know who that is. Is that the Wall?
The Wall.
Yeah.
WCW United States Heavyweight Title match. Champion Lance Storm defending against General Rection.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Singles match. Jeff Jarrett taking on Buff Bagwell. The WCW World Tag Team Title match. Chuck Palumbo and Sean Stasiak defending against the team of Diamond Dallas Page and Kevin Nash.
Yeah.
Singles match. Goldberg versus Nick's boy Lex Luger. And, and in our main event, the WCW World Heavyweight title is on the line as champion Booker T takes on Scott Steiner. Unbelievable. We'll be breaking that down next week right here. There's a lot to take in here. Holy shit.
I'm kind of upset I said I would watch it.
Well, say this too. Vince Russo is gone. He did not book this pay-per-view. He did not put this together. So
who the fuck do we have to blame for this?
You will have Stevie Ray for 2 hours and 45 minutes in your life, which is the greatest fucking thing ever. When you see Stevie Ray see a move and have him scream, That's a finish, Tony. Be entertained beyond belief. He does that shit all the time. When he refers to every woman as yaks. What he calls soft men as fruit booties.
Fruit booties, yes.
Oh my god.
He has the famous phrase, "Suckers gots to know." Stevie Ray is a treasure.
I do like Suckers Gots to Know. I do like Suckers Gots to Know.
I cannot wait for Stevie Ray.
It's going to be great. So we will be here right back here next Sunday to review that and watch some matches and talk about anything that happens in the League of Wrestling.
Guys, hold on. Are we gonna do a show the day after Christmas, the 26th?
I mean, I'll be home.
Ain't no holiday.
I'll be home.
I got nothing to do.
Not the day after.
You know what, guys? Let's spin the wheel again for the following week.
Okay, so
I'll be here.
Spin the wheel.
So we got to pick a different. Okay, so it's back
to
me to pick a year, right? Because I picked the year. Then
I'm just gonna go right off this fucking wheel because I've already got this here.
So we're gonna do 2000 back to back. Okay.
Oh
yes.
God.
Fuck
you,
why would you do that?
already have the wheel loaded. I was gonna say, can we at least do a?
I do. I've already got the wheel loaded. I'd have to add everything and put stuff in.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this: if it's another WCW pay-per-view, I want one more spin.
I'm with you. Yeah.
Oh, it's one that I've actually never seen before.
Okay.
WWE Survivor Series 2000.
Okay, hold on. Let me type
Hunter,
now
Hunter and Steve Austin main event.
Kurt Angle and The Undertaker for the title. The Rock and Rikishi.
This is when. Yes,
when Rikishi ran over him with the car. Right?
I did it for you, Rock.
And he did it for The Rock.
I did it for the people. Yeah.
Okay, so all right, here we go. Val Venus with Bull Buchanan, Christian Edge, and The Godfather against Jeff Hardy with Bubba Ray, Devon Dudley, Lita, and Matt Hardy.
What in the Lord?
Okay. That's just a singles match for some reason. But all those people were out there with them. Steve Blackman, Crash Holly, and Molly Holly taking on TNA and Trish Stratus. The Radicals taking on the team of Billy Gunn, China K Quick, and Road Dogg.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kane and Chris Jericho. William Regal defends the European Championship against Hardcore Holly.
That could be fun.
I bet you that is underratedly good.
Yeah, that's fun.
Women's Championship match. Ivory defends against Lita. Then the WWF Championship match, Kurt Angle and The Undertaker. I bet it's pretty good. And then we have a 4-on-4 Survivor Series elimination match. The Dudley Boys and the Hardys against Edge and Christian and Right to Censor, Bull Buchanan and The Godfather. And then in our main event, we have a no disqualification match between Steve Austin and Triple H.
Okay, I will not spoil it. I will not spoil this, but I will tell you this. The finish to that, if you guys have not, it sounds like neither one of you have seen it. The finish to that main event is one of the stupidest fucking things that they probably had done up until that. It was so like.
Is it worse? Is it worse than the finish of Hogan and Yokozuna, where the cameraman jumps up on the apron and takes a picture and explodes in Hulk Hogan's?
Oh yes, much.
Is it worse than that?
Oh yes.
That's saying something because that's pretty fucking bad. When you keep in mind that they never paid off who the cameraman was, like they never carried that on. It never became anything. Just for that one match, there happened to be a cameraman jump up on the apron and take a flash picture right in Hogan's face.
Harvey Whippleman.
Yeah.
Stupid. All right. Until next time, guys. This has been the Now and Then Wrestling Podcast.